Hi, it's Jeff with Cribl. In this video, we're going to walk through configuring a CrowdStrike Falcon LogScale Destination using Cribl Stream, Cribl's data processing engine. We'll focus on the setup of this in a Cribl Cloud account, which is Cribl's as-a-service offering and the best way to take advantage of the suite of products. You can sign up today for a free 1 TB account with no credit card required. Just visit cribl.cloud. Note that most of these steps will also apply to an on-premise or customer-managed installation. Let's get started. In this video, we'll be performing these steps. First, we'll set up the LogScale destination in Stream. We're using LogScale Cloud in this example. Next, once the destination is configured, we'll configure a route to send source data from Stream to this destination. And last, we'll confirm the data is making it to LogScale as we expect. A note before we start. If you want more information, make sure to check out our docs. Here's the page for the LogScale destination with tons of useful info. I'm logged into my Cribl Cloud account and I've selected my worker group called Default that I want to set everything up in. To set up the destination, click Data and then Destinations. You'll see the various tiles for all the supported destinations. We can look for it in the list, but I'll just type in LogScale in the search bar to make it easier, and then click on the tile. We add a new output by clicking Add Destination on the upper right, and then we see the configuration modal for our connection. For the output ID, we can enter a friendly name such as LS Cloud. We can leave the endpoint as it is for this one. If you are not using the LogScale US Cloud, make sure to change the endpoint to match your environment as needed. For the request format, we can either send JSON formatted events, or raw or single line events. Note the tooltips as we hover over the question marks. If using the JSON output, our endpoint is correct as it ends with API/v1/ingest/heck. If we were using raw instead, note that we would need to add /raw to the end. We'll be using JSON, so this looks good. For authentication, we'll need an API ingest token from LogScale. Check out the CrowdStrike documentation if you need help setting one up. I'll enter my LogScale token in this box. The last option to consider on this page is the backpressure behavior. If for some reason Cribl Stream can't send to the destination, you can configure the behavior here whether to block, drop events, or use a persistent queue to cache events for later sending. I'm keeping block in my example for my test. There are some additional options on the left-hand menu. Under retries, we can configure various behaviors related to retrying failed attempts. Stream already has some built-in retry logic, such as for 500 type errors, but we can do finer grain tuning here if needed. Under advanced settings, we get additional options for sending controls such as timeouts, concurrency, and body size. I'll leave these set to default and can tune them later if issues are encountered. Note at the top that compression is turned on, which should help maximize outbound bandwidth and connection efficiency. For now, we've completed the setup of the destination, so we'll click Save on the bottom right. As is normally the case, our changes don't go live in Stream until we do a commit and deploy. Click the button in the top right. Type in a message saying what we did, and then click Commit and Deploy on the bottom right. After a short time, our workers will check into the leader and will download and apply the latest configurations. Once the workers are reloaded, we can try to do a quick test. Click on the destination we just created and choose the test option from the submenu. Stream has a default JSON sample we can send. You can see it there. This should work for our setup, so we'll click Run Test on the top right. If all is well, we should see a success message in Stream. We could also check LogScale to see if the data actually arrived. And we'll do that later once we do the next step, configure a data route to send our own real events to LogScale. With our destination set up, we can now route our logs to it. We'll need a source setup to do this. In this environment, I've set up a data generator to produce some network events as my source. With the source and destination, we can now create a route. I'll use the Quick Connect interface to do this, but you could use the data routes interface as well. To do so, click on Routing, then Quick Connect to see the UI. On the left, we see the data gen, and on the right, we have our destinations, including LogScale. Click the plus sign next to the source and drag it to the LogScale destination. We then get to choose what we'll do to the data on the way, or what we call a pipeline. I'll choose pass-through for now as I want to send the source data as it is without any changes. If you need to change the source data in some way, create a pipeline and use that instead. Click Save to make the change. And once again, we'll commit and deploy to make the changes active. Once this completes, our data should be making its way to LogScale. We'll confirm that with our final step, data validation. After a short time, our data should start being sent from Cribl Stream to LogScale. Let's first check that Cribl shows data going to the destination. We can do that with Stream's capture ability. Still in our Quick Connect window, hover on the LogScale destination and click Capture. We should see our source events showing up here. This means Cribl is attempting to send them. Excellent, that's half the battle. The last validation would be to check in LogScale itself. Here's a screen grab of the data showing that it made it in. And that's it for this exercise. In just a few minutes, we set up our LogScale destination, created a route to get our source data there, and validated that data is being received. Future us might have a bit more to do. Our next steps might be to adjust the pipeline to do any event shaping, such as enrichment or field optimization, or correct any issues in the data structure. And we might need to do some tuning with the destination settings if we encounter any issues. But for now, we'll pat ourselves on the back for a job well done. If you want to know more, check out our documentation at docs.cribl.io. You might want to try out our free sandboxes at sandbox.cribl.io. And finally, join us at community.cribl.io to be part of the GOAT herd. And until next time, thanks so much for watching.